Attendance only.
You are. Sarah. Nice to meet you. My daughter Torres.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm with the Elster's family.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
We're excited about that. Yes, we are too, and Angela is, and.
Niels, would you like to sign in?
You didn't want to say it.
I'm happy to if you'd like, but I don't have to.
Up to you, I just, it's,
I'm just
I didn't want to
watching.
bypass if you were.
I miss you guys. Yeah, I miss you too, bud.
Okay,
Good.
thank you so much anyways, and we'll say it again. Thank you.
We'll say it open. Yeah. Have such great support for such a great. We want to support those great students. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. More involved in music education, the power. Yeah.
Oh, are you?
I'm sorry.
I don't think you are.
Meals.
Nice to meet you.
I was gonna ask if you're okay with providing finance update.
I mean, it's there. Patrick knew too, he's really good at it.
You can defer.
I mean,
Or
We can-
not even.
no, we should talk about it, but there's nothing really to talk about finance committee
I mean, it's
update,
basically.
because he's gonna be giving the update, so. Yeah, Tina emailed the presentation, I looked at it, it was like 98 slides. Oh, there's so much information in there.
You just wanted to be here at 6:31, get that next hour.
I don't know, if you guys didn't go to their last town hall meeting they had, Von Briesen does some, they've done, this is the second one I asked them to email, but this one was, what if you have a bad board member? And it actually opened my eyes to a lot of my personality traits, and I'm like, good to know, thank you so much. But it was, I'm only halfway through it, but it was really fascinating. I didn't think last month's meeting was phenomenal, but this one was. And they said they'll email it to us. Did you attend the public sector? Oh, I really liked this one.
Alright.
Last month's,
See if I can
this
find
one
it.
was it was very eye-opening for my personality traits.
Alright, so we'll go back to a number 2 on our list whenever you're ready.
Alright,
So,
ready
gotta keep my
to
mouth shut.
call to order at 6:39 PM.
We are live, so we are good to go.
Good to go, alright. Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, we are streaming on YouTube, public notice was given.
Correct.
Alright, public comments, we don't have any. Now let's get a readout on our committee reports, we'll start with PPC.
Alright, BPC met on the 11th, we had discussed the personnel report. There's a couple different changes that are on there. One of the exciting things to see is we are getting filling our vacancies pretty quickly, so exciting to see this district as a draw, people are coming in. We also have one that's in the consent agenda, it's Act 57, Act 89, Neola policy updates. You'll see a lot of new wording put into our current policies that are all legal related. So if you review them all, there's really just the legal information, so there's nothing that's anything changing to the policy and what it dictates. Any comments on those two?
I would just say there's statutory requirements of 57 and 89. 57 is the letter that goes home within 24 hours to any family whose child may have been involved in a harassment situation. And then in addition to that is the change in law on grooming. So those are 57 and 89, both have to be signed and put in place by September 1st. So we're ahead of that curve, but we want to make sure that we're keeping all of those pieces together.
Perfect, thank you very much. The next one we talked about was the Lakeside Family Handbook, and we discussed changes in wording that are in there that are within the guidelines of the board, so we are gonna continue to move down the road and getting that out to everybody, so that's updated with the right information. And it was kind of just brought as a courtesy to the board at that point in time to take a look at. And then C, which is the agenda on how to request items procedure, which we kind of talked about in our previous meeting. We had some discussion, we brought up some back and forth on what that looked like, and I think we just need some more clarification on the rules and regulations and how to make sure it's a fair and equitable moving forward. So we had sent it back, and I think it's gonna go back to PPC next month to read it one more time, and then brought for the board to look at, to not necessarily vote on, but to start using and implementing, because we already have a policy. This is just how the procedure be handled in-house. And then our next PPC, we have covered the year for later today, so nothing coming out of that.
Yes.
And that was PPC.
Excellent. Morgan, you wanna get a preview of finance?
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about the normal stuff, we went over the financials, which are looking good. The vendor report and the voucher purchasing stuff. Matt and I pulled a few that we wanted to look at that we do every month. And then Patrick's gonna talk more about the preliminary budget and the capital improvement committee. We kind of just talked about what we thought we should do, and Matt and I both said we do not need to be on that board, or on that committee. We will open it up to any of you guys.
Perfect. Alright here, so now we will go through our consent agenda items, which are Neola update, Act 57 and 89, our monthly voucher and purchasing card reports, the minutes from the board meeting on May 20th, employee personnel report, and donations. This month, we do have a donation of $6,642 from the LCS Band Booster Club. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah.
You're
You're in
welcome.
support of that, right?
Our
Thank you,
team
guys.
is very happy to be able to support these middle school students, thank you.
That's quite the donation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is excellent.
Thank you.
Alright, so with that, would anyone ask for any items to be removed? Otherwise, I will be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items as listed.
Motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second. That's fingers going.
Good to go.
Alright, new business for discuss. Oh, I'm sorry.
Point of order, sorry.
My bad, thank you.
For full.
Keep me in line here, will you? Yeah. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect, motion approves. Now we can move forward with discussion and appointment of the Capital Improvement Committee.
Maybe.
You want me to discuss? I can.
I mean, yeah, I got a couple
So,
pointers, but yeah.
so at Finance Committee, we did discuss, logically speaking, we thought it would, should include myself, Greg Ventus. I know at the last board meeting, there was some discussion, I don't wanna assume interest, but Matt and Chris, you guys both seemed as though you had some interest, Hagelin that is, some interest of being a part of that committee. I personally don't want it to get too large, but I think if we had Greg and I, 2 board members, and then if we could find any qualified community members, when I say qualified, I mean knowledgeable in the building trades, engineering, facilities management, would be logical places for qualifications to come from. I think we should meet regularly until a new capital plan is in place, and then we can kind of back that off a little bit to do less frequent reviews and kind of look at maybe semi-annual progress and what projects are getting done, what new needs have popped up since the last meeting. That's just my thoughts, discussion.
So your monthly is what you're looking for to start,
That's what I think we should, I think it deserves that attention.
and then with your current enrollment, what are the hours that you think that this meeting will be able to take place?
Well, I mean, it's not, for me, it would, I can make work whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where I would probably start to consider, especially if we're looking at, you know, businessmen and women and trying to bring everybody together. It's a great opportunity, a great place for a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet meeting. It doesn't have to be an in-person, I don't believe. Greg starts work at like 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, depends, so.
Oh, him and Chris Atzek me.
So to, right, so to try to get him to stay until 6, 7 o'clock at night, that's a very long day, and I wanna make sure that we're cognizant of people's schedules. I think once a month sounds great, if you guys deem you wanna do that more often than that, I think you get the people together first. If you guys have people that you have in mind or that you think you know of that are in this community that want to do it, we can of course put out a feeler for it, see if we can get a couple people, and then the group of you maybe just determine what's gonna be the best fit for them.
And then this is just like an advisory role, we're not looking for any approvals out of this.
No, everything would still come to full board. Just like finance committee, just like, you know, we discussed, but obviously there's no quorum, we're not approving anything. But it's a way to vet out and discuss some of the ideas or thoughts or kind of approaches to this. And then obviously anything that would require, well, everything that's gonna require a full board vote to actually put it into place.
Yeah.
At this point, I would say I would volunteer to.
You would be?
Likewise.
Okay, well, based on that, then we have 4 members at this point. If you guys have anybody in mind, we can discuss that, but otherwise, we can put out an ask to the community to say if there is anybody in those, that is a professional in those areas of expertise, that wants to be a part of the process, we can put that out there if that's what you guys.
I think we just did.
Yeah.
In
I
some
would agree
ways.
too, if there are people that are really interested in this.
Yeah, and
if
you
we
can-
don't,
they
then
can-
we can ask around, that's fine too, either way, we'll send them your way or
Yep.
whatever we
Yep.
post
So
for it,
if anybody's watching, you guys can email me directly, and
People
then,
can still come to the meetings that you're having, even if they're not a part of it, correct? It's an open meeting.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to figure out what that looks like if it's a digital meeting.
Yeah,
How do you do
I
that?
think we just throw it up on a
Screen and they can come
and
here
they
and
can come
watch
here if
it,
they
yeah,
want to.
perhaps, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that would work. Again, everything that we would be discussing would be brought forth to the full board as well, so, that's just for full transparency, that's, we're not gonna be, there's gonna be no closed door decisions or anything like that.
No.
But I think we do need a forum to really start hashing out, what's the priorities of the board versus what are the big ticket items that we have coming down the pipeline. So,
Excellent.
So discussion and appointment. Is appointment just me and you are on this committee?
yeah,
Okay.
I think you've just been appointed.
Yeah.
Appointed. We voluntold each other.
And then once we have determined kind of, who's gonna be serving, if there is gonna be any community involvement, then we can start setting schedule and figure.
So what do we wanna do with that? They're listening now, are we gonna post anything? Do we wait a month and then start, or can we start in July?
I'd say I'd like to have something on the schedule, we don't have to meet by July 1, but have something scheduled by July 1.
Okay.
I think that seems, I don't wanna kick the can down the road too long, just because I'd like to get a new plan in place, so that we can really start to look at how this aligns with the budget process, and what things look like are gonna be the most pressing.
Perfect. Alright, how do I move forward out of this one? We can get a vote or anything, right?
No.
How we're gonna take it out.
What is me? Those two no more.
Alright, so we're
You're
good.
good, on to
Yeah.
number 10, right?
Yeah.
Yes, excellent.
17.
Today was our first day back for summer school, and I have to say, even though it's only been a week, you can still feel the energy from the kids. Like, when you're kid people, you're in the business of kids, you love seeing the kids. And so we had just a great day today, lots of really exciting times in beginning tennis, and I had a little friend that oh my goodness, can manage a Rubik's Cube like nobody I know. And it was all mixed up, and I said, can I mix it up? for you and have you do it? He's like, sure. He hands it to me, mixed it all up, handed it back to him, boom. Didn't even have to look at it, man. He just had it. It was like, wow. So then I asked him how, I said, what did you do today? Did you have a great day? And he's taking a mix of things, and he really loved his beginning tennis class, but he's taking escape rooms. So if you don't know what that is, it's a class where the kids get to create their own escape room, and it's just so cool. And so needless to say, we're doing some really great things in summer school, and it was great to see everybody back and excited to be here. From a district perspective, we are doing some great work with some hiring. Just as a side note, last year we did approve a policy because we only meet once a month, and in order for us to hire people, it is in board policy that the superintendent has the authority to approve contracts, and then knowing that it's going to come to you on the next one, because we lost some candidates last year because we were delayed by a month. So we are going to exercise that authority. I just want you to know that they are never going to be for surprises, like I'm just gonna hire a chef or anything like that. It's always gonna be for a program or a position that's already been approved by the board. So just so you know, that's where we're at for that. But we have our first leadership meeting tomorrow to talk about year 2 on strategic planning, portrait of a graduate, our STEM program, and then how we're getting out into the community. I think you'll like what we're doing and the things that you're gonna see come from these meetings. And then our next meeting is at Birch and Banyan. So they have reached out and said, hey, would love to have you. If you're listening and you have a business space and you'd like to meet our leadership team, please reach out to either myself or Gretchen. And we would love to come visit and see all the things that you're doing and how we can better serve you in the future with our students.
Very nice.
So that is our update for this month.
Awesome, thanks, Tina. Right into Patrick with
So monthly financials, I'll just jump right into my first agenda item. Monthly financials, this time of year, purchasing really starts to slow down. Mostly just operational things. A lot of, this last go round was a lot of summer school supplies. But outside of summer school supplies, not a ton of ordering for educational programming, but more so ordering and purchasing from our building and grounds team and other just operational needs for the buildings for the summer. So not a ton there. Looking at where we sit to end the month of May, operating checking ended the month with about $344,000. Operating savings, our Fund 10 savings, about 6.95 million. Capital improvement savings, about 1.79 million. And then our North activity account, which will be getting renamed. The purpose of that account, it is largely to be a transient account. That's the account that we use for our payment processing, so like our Square Cash accounts, so that if there were ever a breach in security, they wouldn't have access to our operating accounts. So I've worked with Cindy in accounts payable to figure out exactly where those balances need to go, and we're just in the process of moving some of those funds. Most of them go to the Woods account for management of our woods here. So that's where we ended the month of May from a financial position. Did anybody have questions on anything from the financials?
Is it June or July that the salaries get paid out in the?
June.
So next month we'll see the.
Yes, so we already paid out, we ran a double check run on the 10th, and then there'll be 4 checks paid out on the final run of June.
Thank you.
So then it'll be that we can expense everything in the fiscal year. So that'll cover 2 checks for June and then 4 checks for 2 for July, 2 for August. Capital improvements, if you've driven around at all, you can see that they are hard at work on all of our paving projects that are going on at the moment. There's one going on at each building. As far as what I've heard, progress is going really well. The base estimates look to be about, base material estimates that they gave us look good. It doesn't look like there should be overages of any kind. I don't know if there's gonna be significant under, on that item, because there were some areas that did need, base material to be brought in, just based on settling. But progress is going well. From everything that I've heard, there's been very minimal interruptions at each building. They look like they're gonna be out of here in the next 10 days. I'm not exactly sure how, but they work very efficiently. I go and look at it and it just looks like a construction site that's gonna take 3 weeks to be done. But they assured me, that, maximum 2 weeks and they'll be out of here, so I said that's great. We do have a, commercial dishwasher that is, on site. We're just waiting for installation crew to come in. I believe Greg indicated that it's going to be, they're gonna start that project the end of next week. And they said they should be, it's about a 2-day install. Carpet, we're working on clearing out the library since school ended. Greg's been in there, ripping out the circulation desk, they're doing some painting. And that too will be completed by the end of the month, so that we can get that all in for the fiscal year. As far as the last agenda item, preliminary budget. So I shared out some information centered around a preliminary budget. We discussed it at Finance Committee. Before I jump into the numbers though, I just want, for full transparency, not just for the board, but for the community, the educational budget process is often very, it's a head scratcher for a lot of people. And it's a head scratcher for a lot of people for a number of reasons. Either one, you don't understand finance at all, or two, your understanding of finance comes from a more conventional, private sector, corporate lens. Our budget process is fairly backwards, to say the least. Our fiscal year runs July 1 to 6/30. We don't actually approve a final budget until October. So that means you're flying the airplane while you're building it. What a preliminary budget is it's just that. It's a first look, it's a framework. And really the purpose of that framework is to, one, provide a starting point for the planning process of that budget cycle. And two, it gives the district the authority to continue running operationally from the time we switch to a new fiscal year until we actually pass a finalized budget. The reason it is such a framework is we're building a budget based largely on some pretty significant assumptions. And many of those assumptions will not become known until much closer to that September, October finalization time. The biggest driver to our budget is butts and seats. Student enrollment drives primarily how our revenues are allocated, or how we know how much revenue we're gonna receive, and then we can make those allocations at that point. With that said, what I've proposed is a preliminary budget that does utilize our full revenue limit authority as a district. So I will reiterate this, I had sent this out to the board earlier. Approving a preliminary budget draft now does not bind the board nor the district to anything that we later on, when more of these unknown variables become uncovered, for us to make a different decision or take a different approach to the budget. So we will, in this proposed budget, we are utilizing our full revenue limit authority. One of the assumptions that I make that's not yet available is a 2% property wealth growth. It's called equalization value is the technical term, but it's our tax base. Last year we saw about an 8% increase, 8.5% increase in our tax base. I will always budget using the most conservative numbers. So I just estimated 2%. Most of what I'm seeing around is there's projections that come in higher than that. What does that do to our budget? Well, the more our tax base grows, the lower the mill rate is, so you have to tax less per thousand. Additionally, one of the other big drivers of revenue for our district is open enrollment. So not just resident enrollment, but open enrollment. Open enrollment is one of the greatest ways that we as a school district can generate more revenue. Last year, we were just a little net negative. What does that mean? That means we had just a few students that left our district more than those that came in. The indications that we have right now, and it is early, is that we should be fairly flat, if not a net positive open enrollment position. If you look at this budget, you will see that I did not budget that way, and the reason being is there's an initial open enrollment period, but there is also an extended or secondary open enrollment period that opens July 1. A lot more can change during that secondary open enrollment period. So again, I will always budget, when there's that much unknown, I will always budget on the side of being more pessimistic, more conservative. And that is why I have left it as a net negative in the open enrollment area. Private voucher expense. This is a wild card. This program, they have taken some of the limitations on participation off. Everything that I'm reading is that there will be an increase in private voucher funds that basically get transited through our district to that other private voucher school. I did increase those as well, and I'll talk specifics in a minute. But that's another area of just we're working off an assumption or an educated framework of, hey, we think this is about where it could come in. I'm probably high on that expense because again, I always like to take that conservative approach. That is a list of kind of the assumptions that this budget is built around. When I say butts and seats will drive this, I projected enrollments should drop by about 25 students from last year's numbers. With going to that full revenue limit authority, we do get an additional, or have the ability to get an additional $325 per student in that per student revenue number. If you look at the revenue or the enrollment projections based on that maximum revenue per member per student, if you follow that down, we're looking for a number of about $14,080,000, which is the total revenue limit with all exemptions, and exemptions are just things that fall outside of that revenue limit. So things like declining enrollment, private school voucher, aid deduction, that kind of stuff would all fall outside of the revenue limit. So that 14.8, last year we operated under a revenue limit of about 13.9. So we're looking at about 190,000 increase in that overall limit. Now, one area that I want to particularly point out, if you look down into the revenue limit calculation, this is how the state funding formula works. Equalization aid, or general aid, you may also hear it called, is meant to equal out the playing field between districts that are very property rich with those that are not, okay? AKA, those that are not property rich receive more state aid. Those that are more property rich receive less state aid. If you look at our revenue limit, what percentage aid makes up that revenue limit, you'll see in 24-25 about 35.84% of that was made up of aid. Fast forward 2 years, we're down below 30. We're at 29.12. We're losing about 3.33% each year, and that's how the system's designed. We've shown the ability as a district to say, your tax base is so strong, you don't need our help. You're able to operate your district with less state funds than maybe some of your counterparts across the state. And so we're gonna reduce that amount. And that will continue to happen, that trend will continue to happen. There are things that we can do long-term that we can talk about as the budget cycle moves. But that is how the mechanisms are designed to work. It's not a mistake. It simply said, you've shown the ability to fund a school through local tax receipts, so why are we giving you so much? Well, we're gonna reduce that a little bit next year, and we're gonna reduce that a little bit more. The past 2 years, again, we've used our full revenue limit authority. That's what this budget proposes. But just to echo what I said before, just because we propose it and if you were to approve this budget now, does not bind us to use a full revenue limit approach when we go to our final budget.
Just philosophy speaking.
Sure.
Why do we take the worst case scenario for the open enrollment, but then plan on taxing to the max? Don't they sort of contradict themselves? Like, shouldn't we be planning on 0 for both?
I mean, we could, if that's the approach that you wanna see. My way of thinking is when we know open enrollment, when we know true enrollment numbers, it's very easy when those things are known to back off from a full revenue limit. To say, hey, we do have extra dollars in this budget that are not allocated somewhere. Maybe we don't need to go all the way to that full revenue limit. That's kind of my philosophy, my thinking, is that's a much easier discussion to have and an appropriate discussion. But it's just more appropriate when we have more information.
Totally.
With that said, if you look at, I just provided a couple breakdowns of Fund 10 and Fund 27. What I want people to, the tax base feels it more than expenses are growing. And what do I mean by that? As state aid falls off, we become more and more reliant on our local tax base. So if state aid's going away, and we increase revenue by 1% and expenses by 1%, someone might say, why then would my tax go up 4.5%? Well, it's because the cost sharing breakdown is changing. It's not that we're year over year spending 4.5% more. It's that our local taxpayers are on the hook for more and more each year because the state is stepping back and saying, you guys got this. So I just want to make that abundantly clear, that if you actually look at how much our spending has gone up over the last 3 to 5 years, if you just compare it to CPI, it is not even keeping up with CPI. We're actually doing more with less each year. And we're learning ways to become more and more efficient and uncovering ways to try to eliminate costs that don't directly impact the growth and advancement of kids. But that's another piece of the puzzle that often gets buried in there. People look at their tax bill and they say, rightfully so, because I do the same thing when I look at my tax bill. You go to the bottom and say, well, how come it keeps going up, right? But that doesn't tell the full story. So sometimes you have to unpack some of that to see really what we're all working with.
Cause even if we weren't to change the budget at all and just kept it the exact same as last year, we would still have a shift of taxpayers increasing because of the state aid formula.
Correct.
So just
Now,
wanna point that out too, is
so
something.
we could slow it down a little bit, but it's still gonna move in that direction. So what Morgan's saying is if we decide, like let's say we didn't utilize any of our new revenue limit authority, we didn't take any of that $325 per pupil and we decided not to spend it. We will see less reduction in state aid if we do that. Because what they're saying, when they look at it and they say, well, maybe they don't got it. You know, like from a formula standpoint, because if they had it, they probably would have went to their taxpayers for the full amount, okay? Now, there's long-term momentum there, so you're still gonna have, because it's a trailing average, you're still gonna lose some state aid, but we can slow that down a little bit, which is a discussion we should have. as this budget process continues to kind of play itself out. I mean, really, if you just look at that equalization aid year over year, we're losing nearly 9.5% of what we received. It's a haircut of about $380,000 in state aid in just that one area. This budget also looks at some categorical aids which fall outside the revenue limit. There's some deep cuts to mental health aid that we're gonna feel next year. Dollars wise, it's not nearly to the scope of equalization aid just because the program's not as big, but we will lose some dollars there as well. Overall, Fund 10 revenues, if the projections all come true, which they won't, I can tell you that right now, we would be 1.15% increase in revenue year over year, and because it's a balanced budget, we also would see a 1.15 increase in expenses because it's a balanced budget across years. If you look at expenditures of Fund 10, like Mark was talking, about 67%, 68% of our budget is wages and benefits for staff members. Salaries are gonna go up by about 6.5%, 2.63%. Was across the board, but we also did approve 2 brand new positions, and there was some changes in administrative contracts that were approved previously. Health insurance was a big kicker, as you guys well know. When you factor in insurance for those 2 new positions, as well as a 15.8% increase, we got about 16.8, close to 17% on the health insurance front. We were able to mitigate not much of that cost, but a good chunk through our Family Advantage Health Plan. We're in the cost savings of over $150,000. And there's still, that's not all realized right away because some of that is gonna be a January 1 where they're moving off of our plan. But it's a positive move to help mitigate what I see as an unsustainable health insurance issue for not just our district, but employers everywhere. So overall, salary and benefits about 8%, 8.15% up. If you look at some of the bigger ticket items here, this budget does not include a Fund 46 transfer. That is something that we can have that discussion later on down the road. If there are funds, surplus funds, at the level that you guys want to tax to, if there's surplus funds, that would be a discussion we can have, and obviously a forthcoming board vote. Although not part of this discussion, but I'm projecting about a $240,000 increase or contribution to Fund 46 for the current fiscal year. Our fund balance, based on this budget, remains very, very sound. About 38% of operating budget would be right where we're sitting. And again, the 33 to 38% is kind of like the conservative sweet spot. We don't short, like I've shouted from the mountaintops, we don't borrow, we don't short-term borrow, we don't use debt, we don't pay debt service. Every tax dollar that we take in goes to educational programming and try to do the very best job to prepare kids for whatever's next. Fund 27, which is also, although much smaller, it's the second biggest chunk or user of funds in the district. We will see a drop in, or we project to see a drop in Fund 27 expenses, largely because we did have some students out on alternative placements. And not many of them, a couple of them have moved on. They were in 8th grade, so those costs will drop off. We will also take a very conservative wait and see approach with the students we still have at some of those alternative placements. Just based on having an office next to the Director of Student Services, I know there's some very, very positive advancements with many of those kids. They're doing really, really well at their new placement. So there's hope that we can bring those back and have them thrive here. That's really, really the hope. One positive area for state aid in Wisconsin is special education. We are going to see a boost in state special education aid on a dollar for dollar basis and a revenue and a percentage basis, sorry. Special education aid is always a trailing aid. It looks at what you spent the year before, and that is your aid for the following year. Well, we had some significant needs of students that had to be met. Some of those involved, like I said, alternative placements. So we spent more than we have in the past in our special education, in our Fund 27. So we're gonna get more aid for next year. But in addition to getting more aid for next year, they're also upping the percentage to 42%. Really, it's a sum certain, it's not sum sufficient, so I plan for 39%, which is normally about a 3% lag behind what they actually publish as the reimbursement. With that, Fund 27 revenues will go up by about 4%. And that fund is balanced, so expenses will also go up by about 4%. Again, Fund 27 can't have a surplus, it's just kind of a clearinghouse. It's like that separate checking account you have at home to keep your side business expenses separate. Very, very specific rules on Fund 27 and maintenance of effort to ensure that we're not balancing our overall budget at the expense of our neediest learners. That takes us to some tax levy analysis. We can talk mill rates. I'm of the opinion that, to me, mill rates are irrelevant because you're comparing apples to oranges year over year. As a taxpayer, I think it's more important to know how much is the levy going up. Our levy increased by 6.74% last year. Under this budget, the levy would increase by 6.52%. And again, it goes back to that discussion we were having. When you just said that you're not really going up that much in spending, how come my tax bill is impacted the way it is? It's again, the changing in cost sharing between the local municipalities and the state of Wisconsin. As the state steps back, and the local municipalities take on a greater share, that's why you see those percentages higher than the actual cost or expense growth in the district.
And how does open enrollment growth or, shrinkage impact that?
Well, open enrollment is probably the single greatest place to generate revenue as a school district. If you're a net positive and you can bring in a large dollar amount, you don't have to tax to the full authority. You may be able to go much less than the full authority, which then brings down your levy rate or your levy increase. So let's just say we were able to bring in $100,000 of revenue through open enrollment. That's $100,000 that we don't have to go ask the local community for. So it's a direct impact.
Got it. So that's why the levy can go up, but enrollment could go down.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And the levy is how do I explain this in the most user-friendly language? The levy is formula driven and it's a trailing average. So just because you're losing students now doesn't mean you're gonna see all the impacts now because there's a 3-year trail. So it looks back 3 years to say, what are the trends, what's that average loss or gain? You could have big spikes year over year or big drops year over year, but it's gonna get washed out there in the averages. With respect to equalized value or that tax base, again, I assumed a 2% growth. Last year we grew at about 8%. If we were to grow at a greater percentage, that obviously brings down mill rates because you got more tax base, you have to tax less per thousand. Last year, based on that 8% growth, we actually saw a reduction in our mill rate of about 1%, down to $3.37 per thousand. If this were to all come to fruition, and this is what was adopted and approved by the board, we'd see a mill rate of about $3.52 per thousand. So again, I guess the one nice thing about the mill rate is maybe not for comparing year over year, but for your standard taxpayer, they can look at their tax bill and say, well, my house is about 400,000, 500,000, whatever it is, and then they can do the simple math on a napkin to say, this is about what the impact will be for me. So, I know I talked a lot, but I'll take any questions you guys have.
I understand what you got going on here. I think it's also important to note that last year was the first year that the property assessments had come in.
Yes.
And the increase in property value was hit, as well as this veto increase of students, so there was hit on multiple ends.
Yes.
Which is why it was such a huge piece, so I think it is important
It
to
compounded.
yes.
Yep.
While we increased, it really compounded in the background. When I look at this rate, then obviously this is kind of we're starting to build a framework of what's here. I think one of the key things that is coming as well is this capital plan and what is there, what is necessary, what's not necessary, how we plan those things out. So I get putting the cart before the horse and trying to figure this out, and then maybe peeling some pieces back as we go. So, but I just wanted to state, I know last year, on top of that increase, which we're doing again this year, it's not government, it's not Wisconsin state aid, it's how big your bucket can get. So we're increasing our bucket size if we go this route, after last year getting a couple of big pieces.
Correct.
In the fall, when we have a better idea of the final numbers, will the board be presented with various scenarios
Absolutely.
that would be under potentially 100% revenue authority?
Yeah.
And to see what the trade-offs that come with that are.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was gonna say. Like I said in the budget, I think that's a conversation that we need to have. I just don't think it's prudent to have it right now with so many unknowns. But yes, I absolutely think, as a board, you should be able to look at multiple options to say, okay, if we decide to tax to less than our full revenue limit authority, we can do that, but what does it look like?
Correct.
Like, and then starting to prioritize, saying, okay, well, we could do this, but then we gotta decide which one of these three things can we scale back? Which one of these three things are we comfortable, or maybe it's 5 things, I don't know. But having those discussions as a board, I think, is very, very important. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think this is where my little passion project comes in, if that's okay. I'm incredibly passionate about the work that we have done for 3 years here in this district to accelerate it to the top of the state. Not only academically and in programming, but also fiscally. Anybody that I speak to and talk to at any conference cannot get over our picture. They just love our story. We're doing absolutely everything right from a fiscal perspective, right down to, we bought brand new Chromebooks 2 years ago for 2nd grade. We're not using Chromebooks and iPads like we used to, like we once did in this district in the K-2 realm. So we're not gonna keep renewing them. So Chris he's regenerating them and pushing them forward, which again gives a break in the budget,
Chris
right?
just found another huge, all of our camera systems, I'm gonna toot his horn right now because he really deserves some credit for this. He has been working tirelessly to try to figure out solutions because the licensing costs for our cameras they're growing. And when we started, it wasn't like that. We went with a vendor that was kind of a little newer, and now they're the gorilla in that industry. And they're using their size to price accordingly. He has found solutions that will literally save us 30, 40, 50% in licensing fees and not drop off. Like, it's not the fact we will have the same quality, same HD, same remote monitoring ability. He is like, I told him, don't work too hard, I'm gonna start cutting your budget.
But that kind of work is happening
Yes.
all across
Yes.
the board, and I think then, you ask the question, what does it look like? Look around this entire state, that's what it looks like when you start to not fund districts. Because you have to start making really hard decisions about programming and kids. And music programs getting cut across the state, right? You've got any of those ancillary pieces getting cut across the state. You are adding programs that are going to impact and affect the rest of the lives of 1,200 students who attend this district right now. That's what the difference is. It's referendums across the state failing left and right in over half of the districts right now. I understand the responsibility. I kind of lean into, and I think Matt, you bring up a really great point about what is the philosophy on this. We've never had that conversation since I've been here. So I'm glad that you bring that, because I don't know what the philosophy is. I know now what Patrick's philosophy is. I know that I have never, from day one as a taxpayer, really understood why we're taking taxpayer money, my money, if this were my community, and putting it in a savings account. Why can't I keep that money in my savings account? Why, I don't understand why we're doing that when we're at 38+% in that fund, when now I see us moving and spending it on kids and programming and doing things that nobody else is doing at this level. All day long, I'm gonna give you my tax money, right? But that's my philosophy. I have no idea where you all are at from your philosophy or your community, because I am certain constituents across this area are speaking to you about that. And I want to make sure that we understand, and again, it's so hard because we're all our own little districts, right? And right now, all of the little districts are going, well, Hartland-Lakeside's got this STEM program, this initiative, and well, what are you doing, and what are you doing, and what are you doing, and what are you doing? Why are they trying to figure out what everybody's doing? If you're a superintendent in a district, do what you think is best for kids. And don't worry about how it impacts anybody else. And that includes our high school, right? Our known high school that we go to. Yes, we all share tax, right? We share taxes with all of our feeder schools and Arrowhead. So that's like a double whammy. It's just like Lake Geneva, right? It had the same exact situation down where I used to live. But I really would hope that our mindset isn't, oh, we've got to really be very careful about our spending because of what we hear on the news, or because that must mean it's happening here. Because the work has been done, at least in the last 3 years from what I have been here and part of, to ensure that doesn't happen in this district. So I believe firmly in the programs that you've approved and the work that you've done to make sure that these, our kiddos are at the top of the food chain when we walk out of here, and it doesn't matter where they go. So I'll be happy to sit down and have a conversation in the fall, in October, if we don't see this great boost and increase from telling our story. I think it's a great story. I think it's a great story all around. I don't think it's just about the academics and the foundation. I think it's fiscally aware, it's the board relationship, it's all of it that this place has done a remarkable turnaround. And I couldn't be more proud to be your superintendent, and I am excited about the future of this district, and we'll have further conversations, because I'm digging in on that one. So, there you go.
I guess the last thing I would say is, the way I view my role is I'm like your advisor. I can advise you as to what the situation looks like, as what the numbers are, but like Chris alluded to, looking at different scenarios, then it's on the board to make the decision of what do we prioritize, how do we want to spend or not spend, and then what do we prioritize as far as how do we scale back and where do we scale back, if that's something that we feel or you guys feel as a board is appropriate. So I try to come into it very neutral. And tell you, hey, here's what the picture looks like. I'm not gonna tell you that it's blue if it's black, I try to be pretty straightforward. But I always will be very conservative, that's just my nature.
That's why we like you. That's why we like you. Yeah.
I think it's important to have those conversations though, that have multiple angles that are
Yeah.
there, whether or not it goes back to, grade A, but we're having these discussions on what this is. It might bring to light different ways to make savings down the road, or different things that can change, so I get that we don't wanna tighten the purses in her education, we have to have those discussions to figure out what's going on, so I continue to wanna encourage that as we go down this piece of, it might be some tough decisions or discussions that we talk about, but it's really making sure we're doing the right thing for the kids, for the environment that we have going, and doing things in the right way, so thank you for all the information.
Open dialogue, that's all. And if you guys, like I've said, if anybody on board, or community for that matter, if anybody has questions, just call, email, I'm happy to answer whatever questions, and or explain the viewpoint or or just wanna talk, yes.
Didn't know that was an option.
Well,
There's been a couple
I'm not
comments
much of a talker.
on a few of the comments that Christina and Patrick made, like, almost like segues into this question. It's just, we keep hearing about open enrollment, we see the trends with state aid, you know, when would you advise we start a stabilization plan? I think what Tina just spoke to is the start of it, what Chris just mentioned is how we keep it an organic plan, how we need to pivot, like when, we have, just what's your opinion there?
I would say, when we begin to see that we cannot operate the way we want to operate without dipping into our fund balance, then we know, then it's clear. If we have to start going into the savings account to run, then we need to start looking at the way we're doing things. Because right now, there's a grim picture for education across the state of Wisconsin. But that's a very broad brush. We are experiencing a lot of the same things. We are just positioned differently and much better than 98% of the districts in the state of Wisconsin.
Many have debt.
Yes. Well, many have debt, many have significant debt, many are routinely having to go for operational referendums. So they've just like, it's almost like when you get that new credit card, you know, you're like, well, I got all this extra money. Just, no, you don't. No, you don't. You gotta pay it back at some point.
It's the worst.
I learned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and by avoiding debt service, by avoiding any finance charge, we don't get into that cycle. But yeah, I think as soon as we, or I shouldn't say we, as soon as, based on what I'm seeing, I would indicate that if we have to dip into or deficit spend, as soon as we have to start deficit spending, that's the spiral that now we need to start looking at how to do things differently.
And I will, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I will just add to that, it's not like we're just sitting back and going, whoop, set and let go, right, or whatever we're constantly reevaluating, reassessing, looking at attrition. And particularly in recent resignations that were very high paying positions, and how can we revamp this,
Yeah,
you know, what are other things we can do? So I don't want you to think that we're just kind of
We're not resting on our laurels by any means. I mean, I'm continuing to reevaluate vendor contracts, go out to bid. We've had a number of contracts that we've went out to bid for and saved significant dollars. I know what you're saying, of like,
You just don't see enrollment and state aid as part of that equation yet, where you're looking at deficit spending, or should we get under 30% or?
yeah, that's
when
kind of my red
things
flag, is when we start to get there. Or if the enrollment drops start to accelerate. Because now it's a general downward trend, and like every district in the state of Wisconsin, unless you have a building boom going on in your district, is experiencing some level of declining enrollment. It's just how fast. We have, it's not a luxury, but we have the luxury to be a fairly slow trend, where some districts, their population is such that they're experiencing that trend at a much accelerated rate.
And I will say also that we made a huge shift a year ago, 2 years ago, where that pendulum swung 74 students in the other direction to more kids. So we stopped the bleed, so to speak, of kids leaving this district, and then we started seeing other students coming into our district. And we are still at that rate. We are still seeing students from other feeder schools and other districts around, not even just the feeders that are right here in Lake Country, coming to Hartland-Lakeside. I think even though it may feel like we're still 1 or 2 below, like you're saying, that used to be,
gain.
yeah, it is a huge gain.
Oh, it is. We were basically, like, I was telling you, looking at historicals, we were basically flat. But if you look at what we were sending out the door,
Right.
$250,000 walking out the door, if you can get that walking in the door, now think about that. You have $500,000 in a $16 million budget, that's big.
Totally.
Huge. Like you could do a lot, or you could choose to not tax to the full authority if that's the way you want to approach it. It provides the luxury to make some of those tough calls easier.
And I think you guys have done an amazing job, from Amy Holly, Patrick, to Tina, and all those things that are there. I'm sorry for those pieces that end. Is there any question?
No, I don't have any other questions, any other comments?
If not, then I would motion to approve the 2026-27 preliminary budget.
I second.
Hope Patrick can fly the plane while he builds it.
You gotta vote.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we can.
Well, I can assure you this, I will be very transparent throughout the process, just like, I mean, last year was, I'll just tell you, last year was very weird for me. Cause like, I picked up a budget that I was, well, you know, it was not that there was anything wrong with it, it's just hard to figure out why things were done the way, you know, like what was the rationale with some of the decisions, but seeing it through is a lot easier for me.
Well, you have proved that you're fully capable, so.
Well, yeah, I never doubted that,
Getting the
but,
final done.
yeah.
I really like how you are conservative with the numbers of where you're, like the enrollment and the health benefits. Cause I know you kind of didn't take into account the savings we could possibly see, you're like, nope, we're gonna see a negative on that. So I think that's all really good. I like doing it that way because
Yeah.
it goes back to that, you know, it's easier to peel it back than.
Yeah, definitely.
Get rid of expenses.
Right.
And then opportunities show up by saying, well, things are better than we thought. What do we wanna do with it?
Well, and all the work you've done to find money in places this year, going through all tens of thousands of accounts. And then, the work that we've done without hitting Fund 46, that we've done to maintain our facilities.
Yeah, I mean,
Have been huge.
there's a
I think that's another thing
$450,000 paving project going on right now.
that we didn't even touch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. I think people need to realize that too.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right, board president report, I do not have anything prepared for this evening, I am looking forward to the agenda creation policy, if we wanna call that policy, that will be nice. Just maturing the board per se. PPC meeting, do we have a date yet?
We don't, we needed to talk about that school board meeting on July 20th, as there, I believe, was a conflict.
Oh, yeah, with, yeah. What can we do here? I'm available that next week, or the week prior to that.
I am not.
Okay,
Does anybody know when Matt was?
Trying to pull up that email.
He did indicate something.
Are you gone that week or just the 20th?
that's Matt Schwab,
Oh, got it.
July 20th. He will be gone for 2 weeks, so it has to be moved up. Or,
If he's to make it.
yeah. Or we proceed with the 20th if moving it up does not work. I am indifferent.
Early on, I'm traveling a little bit. So it's a little tight.
And I'm unavailable the whole week of the 13th through the 17th.
Anything earlier than that probably wouldn't make sense.
Cause you can't get committees in and,
Yeah.
yeah, the 4th, yeah.
What about the 27th? Was that something that somebody else was then?
He's gone for 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, he's those 2
Yeah,
weeks,
I
or
think
2
he's
weeks?
20th and 27th, right?
Well,
Yeah, he's gonna be in Europe, I think.
yeah, then I guess we have to just schedule it.
That's the way I would look at it.
Just
I'm
move
gonna
it to the
leave it.
20th.
Leave
Just
it the
leave it where it
20th?
is.
I'll work with Chris and Chris for a PPC meeting. Does that
Okay,
sound good?
that sounds
And then
great.
we'll get it on the agenda, okay?
That works.
Are we doing 5:30 for the board meeting?
Yes.
For the board meeting, yes. Not a board workshop.
Yeah, that's what it says right, yeah.
Yep, okay, good.
motion to adjourn?
Finances is still the same?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, my apologies.
Motion to adjourn at 7:41.
Alright,
do the second.
second.
I second. I feel like I do it sometimes, then you say I don't.
That way,
Okay.
point word.
You gotta vote it.
Yeah, everybody.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye. Motion approved.
Those of you who have district computers, please leave them where they're at. We are painting the other office and we'll just leave them and I'll take care of them.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
See
Thank you again.
I get everything,
We're very happy.
the next meeting, I'll get it right.
You know,
Is that
the
full size?
Monsoon is from 1986, it's time
Yes.
for another.
That's exactly
Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's exactly right.
I would have never known that they cost that much.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
can't rent them at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's like renting a used car.
Right,
Just
might be worse.
Well, into a 11-year-old, 12-year-old.
Right.
Well, it's like
Right?
13-year-old, whatever, but.
I'm gonna put mine up here so that it doesn't, the cord doesn't keep on.
Oh, gosh, yeah, okay. It doesn't need to be part of that. I don't wanna be.
Where do you need to put it? Oh, it doesn't need to be plugged in. Got it. You know, it's just.
Okay, that's all right, it's been a long day, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all your support and trust.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. have a good night.
your work. And nice fish.
What?
Nice fish.
Thank you. That's what means the most to me.
Okay, well, you guys all stay here and have fun, I'm leaving. See you later.
See you, Morgan. Was it the 17th? 15th?
Chris, what are your thoughts
Stream
on?
is still live.
Live.
What are your thoughts on virtual?
Stream is still live,
I'm
just so
just
you know.
thinking from a practicality standpoint.
It's later.
When I trying to
Done
get
my job.
from Madison, it's not practical, it's very difficult. If it's not a day that we're here, working locally, that's a difficult ask to try to get here at a reasonable time to keep them. Or, right, to stay later.
As long as we do it virtual, like video, I'm okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be phone call, I'm talking like
Yep.
Zoom or whatever platform they wanna use, still could be attended by the community.
Yeah.
But that would open up possibilities for timing that might be easier for their schedule.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the
Yeah,
ability
it's easier
to
for
be
you to
here.
pull away for an hour.
I can't be here at
3
9
hours.
AM,
Yeah.
I can't, I'm in Madison, so I can be here at 6.